gets down. It is all on the back of ZexRow. And you can see trying to not crouch, wants to avoid doing that. Is he able to fight it? He gets angled, but he gets sent down. Will he be able to get back?
Something.
Pop a bandage. Pop a bandage. ZexRow, pop a bandage. Son, please.
Wait, don't forget he has the double eliminations for the site, but it's going to come through. Aguilar goes down. Uzi goes down. 1 HP. Son down. What?
This is ZexRow. Known for his pinpoint accuracy, he's widely considered to be one of the most talented keyboard and mouse players of all time. And when it comes to clutching, you'd be a fool to ever count him out. On the surface, he seems rather reserved, but hidden away, there's a bit of a nasty side as well.
You suck, dude. You suck. You honestly suck.
What is up, guys? My name is Christoph, and love him or hate him, this is the story of ZexRow. So how did ZexRow earn the title of Fortnite's best aimer? We can start by going all the way back to when he was only 6 years old. That's when his dad hooked him up with an Xbox, where he started playing his favorite game, Call of Duty, with a controller, not a mouse and keyboard, which he uses today. And he would actually play on console for a long time before making the move over to mouse and keyboard. And once he did make the change to PC, he played games like Rust and Arma 3, even uploading some of his montages on YouTube with a particularly odd choice of soundtrack. Jazz in a frag video I never thought I'd see the day. But moving on, eventually ZexRow's competitive drive guided him to one game in particular, Counter-Strike. It turns out ZexRow was actually very, very skilled at Counter-Strike, as in only a step away from the professional level. Yeah, it was a huge step, but he got to rank G on ESEA, one rank away from what all the pros played on, and even participated on a few open and intermediate league teams. No doubt when it came to shooters, ZexRow had some serious skills. But when did ZexRow start playing Fortnite? Well, he didn't really get into it until his friend from Arma 3, Buck, hit him up.
He played Fortnite and he said, Zex, you have to play Fortnite with me next season. It's so free. It's free money. It's so easy to go pro in right now.
ZexRow squatted up with Buck and immediately started making a splash in the pro scene. Mind you, this was very early on, before the $1 million prize pools and involvement from Epic. But his immediate success showed that he had potential to be a top dog. Back in the day, Fortnite didn't have creative mode, so to work on his accuracy, ZexRow would have to hit up what all the Counter-Strike players used, which was Kovacs Aim Trainer. He'd spend countless hours in Kovacs, even sometimes waking up before dawn to get a sesh in before school. And of course, this was his secret. All that aim training helped him land shot after shot in Fortnite, putting him ahead of the curve. Soon after, Zex's adventures with Buck's team came to an end, and he needed a new home. So he reached out to who he could, including one player by the name of Vinny1X. And as luck would have it, Vinny happened to be in the market for a new squad mate. If you guys already know ZexRow, you probably already know Vinny. Although they didn't duo together right away, needless to say, these two went on to form perhaps what is one of the most famous and long-lasting duos in competitive history. We'll get more into their successes later on. ZexRow's breakthrough in open leagues like Step 1 got him noticed just enough to be picked up by a small esports organization looking to expand into Fortnite, the Pittsburgh Knights. But it wasn't a major org or anything. ZexRow wasn't making any real money. He was 17 years old, and with college on the horizon, his parents weren't exactly supportive of how much time he was actually playing gaming. The clock was ticking. ZexRow needed to somehow earn an income, or else the dream would be dead. Thankfully, Epic just kickstarted their esports scene with the Solo Showdown, and Zex did well enough in the competition to win an invite to Epic's 8-week, $8 million tournament, the Summer Skirmish. Although he didn't stream his games, ZexRow and his duo partner Mystic came in 10th place in week 5 of the event. ZexRow won about $9 grand that day. Considering this was just the beginning and that there'd be plenty more opportunities in the future, it was enough for his parents to begin supporting his journey. That win would be the end of his spoils, from the summer skirmish, but next month the fall skirmish got announced and ZexRow was invited. Unfortunately, however, his teammates were not, so his partner for the first week was someone he'd never played with before, a guy named Vape Jesus. Still, even with the odds stacked against them, they performed aggressively, and they had the determination to win.
What? No!
I can't believe it.
Someone. No way.
72 hours of chat.
This was ZexRow's first ever 5-digit earning. Can you imagine pretty much winning a salary's worth of income with just a few hours of Fortnite play? That is absolutely insane. A month later, ZexRow headed to TwitchCon, and since this was an open event where you could pick your teammate, he got Vinny to go along with him. They pulled off some groundbreaking stuff together in this event. Because back then, a large majority of pros just played defensively, that was the typical playstyle. But ZexRow and Vinny came to switch things up. They played aggressively, and most of their opponents weren't ready for that level of aggression. After a decent start, they went into the last game sitting at 12th place. But in that match, out of nowhere, ZexRow gave the performance of a lifetime.
Look at the number of players just exposed in the open fighting each other. He's going to dip in. DMO.
He's floating on down. DMO now out. ZexRow in the fight. Can he get it?
There it is! 8 eliminations.
This play exemplifies how insanely good ZexRow is. He took his earnings for the event and multiplied it tenfold. No doubt after a clutch like that, those two must have been feeling on top of the world. With all the recent success, ZexRow blew up. His stream numbers exploded, and he was now seen as one of the top competitors in the NA region. So much so, he attracted the attention of pretty much every top-tier organization. He had plenty of choices, but in the end, he went to his favorite team, TSM. Some of you may be asking, wasn't ZexRow already on an organization, the Pittsburgh Knights? What happened to that? Well, before getting picked up by TSM, ZexRow announced that he was a free agent, but the Knights responded saying no. He's still under contract with us for another 7 months. Why Zex didn't stay with the Knights, we don't quite know. He doesn't speak about it, but with how esports contracts typically are, we can only imagine that it was a lopsided deal that wasn't benefiting Zex anymore. Long story short, ZexRow wasn't under contract anymore and joined up with TSM. After the next few months, ZexRow helped pioneer something we're all familiar with, the W key playstyle. For all of you guys who are interested in W key highlight reels, we post them every day at ProGuides Fortnite on our Instagram channel. Go check it out if you guys are interested in that type of content. Open events like the Winter Royale started placing a lot of emphasis on eliminations, but not many people realized how crucial they were until they saw players like ZexRow topping leaderboards. Zex's strategy was this: play aggressively, reach 5 kills, and then chill and wait for the endgame to find more. And when I say aggressively, I mean aggressively. He'd get right into the opponent's face or in their box if he needed to, mostly through build battle maneuvers, but also with a dash of box fighting techniques like wall replacing and piece control. I guess you could say ZexRow helped pioneer box fights as well. Still, this whole W key strategy was for online qualifiers. How would it fare at the next LAN event? Well, in March of 2019, there was a massive international LAN in Poland, the ESL Katowice Royale, a 2-day duo tournament with nearly $500,000 up for grabs. On the first day, ZexRow and Vinny absolutely annihilated it. Their drop spot, the Viking Village, was utterly uncontested, no one else landed there to disrupt their strats, and as expected, it helped them finish at the top of the standings for day 1. But the next day was different. There was a foe nearby, a Korean international duo, Aim Hero and Fax Fox. With their underwhelming performance in day 1, they decided to switch up their strategy and start at Viking Village, the same drop spot that ZexRow and Vinny drop at.
Now more trades going in, but Fax Fox gets an angle.
He's got 1 build left. He can only cover his high ground for a little bit longer, and that's going to be him now out of the equation. Actually, both players. So the leaders here so far after 8 rounds are going to be out in one of the first duos eliminated.
Having to deal with an aggressive duo at the start of each match caught Zex and Vinny entirely off guard. On day 1, when they were uncontested, they finished with about 400 points. And on day 2, they only managed around half of that. By the end, Zex and Vinny dropped from first place and finished third. ZexRow was unhappy. Why would a duo with a horrible first day performance start landing on them? It didn't make sense. So ZexRow saw it as something personal, that they were intentionally griefing the top team because they had nothing to lose. But was this whole situation as bad as Zex made it out to be? In response, Aim Hero claimed that because of their lousy start, they studied the previous day VODs to come up with a new strategy. And they noticed that out of every landing spot, Viking Village was the only one uncontested, so they only did what they thought would be best for them. And in the end, Aim Hero even apologized to ZexRow. Still, ZexRow received a ton of hate for his remarks. Would this be the end of ZexRow's career? Many people thought. Also, many were quick to point out the irony in all of this, because months earlier, Zex uploaded a video showing him contesting Ghost Gaming members in pro scrims at the exact same drop spot. But now that it happened to him, suddenly it wasn't cool anymore. In the end, Zex apologized. Regardless, the whole ordeal tarnished his reputation. Instead of being seen as this up-and-coming prodigy, ZexRow was considered toxic and unsportsmanlike, not how most pros want to be known. Still, the whole thing would be a minor setback compared to the even bigger roadblock waiting ahead. Remember how we mentioned ZexRow loved to grind Kovacs? Well, pretty much every waking moment he wasn't screaming, the madman was working on his aim. But it turns out that hundreds of hours of flicking your wrist around can have some severe consequences. ZexRow's hand pains were so severe, it got to a point where he could barely play at all. Even just attempting to click his mouse would cause significant pain. Tendinitis is no joke, especially in esports. And with the World Cup kicking off soon, the question on everyone's mind was, is ZexRow really going to qualify? I mean, he's been a part of the pro scene since the beginning. He's played his heart out at every event he's been able to go to, and now with such an untimely affliction, could he even play at all? Would this be the end of ZexRow? In the first 4 weeks of duo qualifiers, ZexRow and Vinny repeatedly came just short of the finish line. With one final week remaining, all hope seemed lost. Still, through the pain and hardship, ZexRow became unleashed. With Vinny eliminated, ZexRow secured the last 4 points they needed, and they did it. Against all the odds, Zex and Vinny qualified for the World Cup.
But ZexRow, battling through the wrist injury, not playing through a large portion, taking months off because he couldn't physically move his arm and was struggling to go through playing Fortnite hurt, to then get on the grind and have an individual performance like that on this stage in the final week. That is clutch. That is the definition, and that is the reason they'll be going to New York City.
ZexRow had several weeks to prepare for the New York finals. His tendinitis was subsiding, but it never really went away. And considering that it took until the 10th week to qualify, all his fans were questioning how well he'd do facing the best of the best.
4 players left in this one. ZexRow and Vinny sprang from the high ground. It's a 2 versus 1. The player right on the edge of the zone. The shockwave into the air. And he's going to drop on down to hype for the moment. The spray coming on in. It's not enough. ZexRow and Vinny. TSM takes game 2.
To everyone's surprise, though, Vinny and Zex went on to get that victory royale in match number 2. And in the rest of their games, they did consistently well enough to ultimately finish in 9th place. Considering how out of practice Zex and Vinny were, this was a massive accomplishment. With barely any preparation and an injured hand, ZexRow and Vinny proved they were still one of the best duos in the world. The rest of ZexRow's career has been nothing short of astounding. After the World Cup, the Trios Champion Series got announced, and sadly, because Vinny was living on the West Coast and Zex was on the East Coast, they decided to split up. Zex would now be playing with 2 up-and-coming All-Stars, Macwood and Young Calc. This trio had it all: game knowledge, aggression, teamwork. It was the perfect mix of skills, enough to make it to the finals with barely any effort.
The crossfire. So now Crim Spades, they're left on their own devices up above. Macwood, ZexRow, Calculator. They are locking down the high grounder now. They even have the utility. Monster, they could do this.
This is it. It's a 3v2. It's a 3v2 right now. He's going for the high ground. Can he make the shot? Macwood misses every single one of them, but hits the heavy pump. Spades gets the trade out. Now it's clicks, and it doesn't matter in the final moments as ZexRow turns around and whips the shot right there to wrap things up.
Unbelievable indeed, these guys were only together for a few months, and ZexRow still had tendinitis. Yet they sliced through the competition like butter. It was a dominating performance over the heat stages and the finals, and eventually our boys came in first and nabbed the enormous first place prize. Over the next few months, ZexRow kept on winning. In the squad's FNCS, he stuck with his trio and brought back his faithful old friend Vinny. These four proved for the second season in a row that they were among the best in the entire region. But apparently because ZexRow didn't have an energy drink on the day of the finals, they only managed to secure second place. And that's not even a joke. That's what Zex said himself was holding him back from first. Fast forwarding to today, ZexRow is still grinding both Fortnite and Kovacs, giving it his all to make a name for himself, to continue his legacy as an incredible esports superstar in Fortnite. The duo's FNCS is right around the corner, but unfortunately, Vinny quit competitive Fortnite. He lost his hunger, and so he ended one of the longest lasting and most successful relationships in Fortnite. Now, Zex's new partner is Macwood, and given their past accomplishments, I'm sure they'll put on a terrific performance once again. ZexRow's story was filled with hard work and suffering. He wanted to go pro in Fortnite from the very start, so he set his mind and achieved his goals. Even when life wasn't going his way, it didn't matter. He put in the time and reaped the rewards. And despite all the drama, he's managed to turn it all around and become an incredible player and have an incredible career. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys were all inspired by the story of ZexRow. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And if you guys want to get better at Fortnite, you know where to go. Go to ProGuides.com and go find your pro coach right now. That's it for the video, guys. Once again, it's been Christoph. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck in your next few games.